Hi Yogi, and welcome to another Slow Flow with me, Oceana. In this particular episode, we will be looking at strengthening and mobilizing our hips. So really working into the muscle tissue that supports those joints. Now, I've thrown a lot of really fun and unusual transitions into the mix for you to hopefully distract you a little bit from the fact that we are doing some very challenging, hard work here. In terms of props, there's nothing you particularly need unless there's something you like to use in your regular practice. So when you're ready, we'll start in a tabletop position in the center of our mats. Once you arrive in tabletop, give yourself a moment to check your alignment. So make sure that your shoulders are directly on top of the wrists. Your index fingers are pointing forward and you're pressing down through the knuckle at the base of your index finger. Inner elbows spin towards the front of the yoga mat, but you're just unlocking the elbow. And then the tailbone and crown of the head move in opposite directions. Your eyes are just towards the front of the yoga mat. Slowly start to circle the shoulders on top of the wrists, the hips on top of the knees, staying with one direction as you gradually start to make those circles a little bit bigger, a little bit wider over time. Making the elbows soft so that you can really allow the movement to become fluid. And when you're ready, we'll slow it down until we find our way back into center, and then we can reverse the circles. Moving in the opposite direction. Again, we start fairly small, soft, gradually allowing the circles to become more fluid, maybe a little bit more expansive, possibly shoulders are moving past your wrists, maybe the hips are coming all the way back towards the sitting bones. And slowly coming back into center when you're ready. From here, we'll take it into a side cat-cow. So as you exhale, bring your left ear towards the left hip, create a sort of banana C shape with your spine. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, right ear towards the right hip. Inhale, back to the midline. Exhale, come back to the first side. Inhale, center. Exhale, over to the second side. Move through that just one more time each side on your own. And when we meet in the center here, we'll shift our body weight into the right knee and the hands so that we can lift the left heel up and back into a sort of donkey kick position. Now, focus on not allowing your rib cage to just flare out. So control the ribs and hips towards one another. Inhale to release the knee. Exhale to press the heel up. Do that just a few more times in your own time. Now, as you release the knee down this final time, we'll take it out to the side. So exhale to lift the leg out to the side. Inhale to release. Again, find a couple of repetitions here. Continue to move with the breath and focus on quality of movement rather than quantity. So go a little bit slower if you can. Next time that you bring the knee down, step the foot out to the side. So your left heel is in one straight line from the hip. Bring the right forearm to the floor and come onto your left fingertips. Now from here, we'll see if we can lift the left leg straight. So shift your body weight again into the right side of the body. See if you can float the foot as you exhale and inhale to release. Again, find that movement a few times. Really feeling that contraction in the glutes here. And after this final round, bring the foot down and we'll sort of limber into the upper body. So as you inhale, reach your left fingertips up and overhead, expand the chest. Exhale, slip the arm across towards the right side of the yoga mat. Expand the space between the shoulders. Do that 2 more times as you inhale, lift the arm. Exhale, sliding through. Final time moving with the breath here. When you're ready, make your way back to tabletop. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. We'll take it to the second side. So from here, again, starting by shifting across into the left knee this time. Right heel moves towards the ceiling without the rib cage flaring out. And inhale, release the knee. Do that a few more times. Find that movement with the breath. So exhale to kick up and inhale to release down. Keeping the upper body as still as you possibly can. Making this our final round. As the knee comes down, we'll start to take the leg out to the right side. So exhale, pick the knee up to the right. Inhale to release. Just a few more times here. On this final round, again, we'll step right foot out to the side, making sure that the heel is in one line to the hip. Bring the left forearm to the floor. On an inhale, see if you can float. On an exhale, see if you can float your right foot off the ground. And inhale to release. So again, just finding that contraction a few times. And possibly at this point, your glutes are on fire. Trying to tackle all three of the glutes. So gluteus maximus, which is always my favorite because he sounds like a Roman gladiator. And then we have glute medius, which is activated here especially, which is the glute that stabilizes the sides of the pelvis. And a little bit more tricky, gluteus minimus at the top of our booty. Release the foot down when you're ready. As you inhale, reach the right fingertips up and expand the chest. Exhale, slide the hand across, reach past the left edge of your yoga mat. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale to cross through. Final time, move with your own breath. Then when you're ready, find your way back into tabletop. Tuck under the toes. We'll slowly release the sitting bones down and back to lift the hips and float up into our downward facing dog. Adjust your feet if you need to. We won't be here for long. We'll move through a couple spinal waves to begin with. So as you inhale, press the floor away with your hands. Roll your spine forward until the shoulders come on top of the wrists. Take the eyes to the front of your yoga mat in a high plank and then generously deep bend in the knees as you lift the sitting bones up and back. Find almost an arched position of the spine. And then see if you can create, again, a little bit of fluidity of movement as you inhale to come forward and exhale to reach up and back. Making it as slow as you possibly can. We'll meet in that next downward facing dog, bringing the big toes to touch at the back of the mat. Lifting the right leg up and back into three-legged dog as you inhale. On an exhale, bringing the knee forward into the chest for tiger's curl, shoulders on top of the wrist. Bend the left knee very generously and see if you can cross your right ankle just above the knee and flex the toes towards your face. Come onto the inner edge of the left foot. Maybe left fingertips can become light. Possibly float the left arm up towards the ceiling into sort of figure four side plank variation. Once you're ready, step the outer edge of your right foot forward. Maybe shimmy your left foot back to find fallen triangle, pressing up through the hips, really pressing down through the outer edge of your right foot to find that expansion in the body. And when you're ready, bend your right knee very generously so that you can shift your body weight forward. Step the left foot to the front of the mat. Step the right foot back. Lift your left arm back up if it's dropped. Find a simple high lunge twist as if nothing had ever happened. Take your eyes towards the floor, spin the back heel down, cartwheel the arms, reach your right fingertips back, left hand forward into warrior two. Generous bend on the front knee as you reach through the knuckles. Take the eyes forward over your front or middle finger. Press equally into both feet. And then slowly turn your front toes in, back toes out, so that your toes are pointing towards the outer edges of your yoga mat. As you inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Bring one hand on top of the other as you exhale. Press the hands down in front of your chest. Sink the hips low, bend the knees. Inhale, lift the arms up and overhead. Let the legs straighten. Opposite hand goes on top. Exhale to press down. One final time here. Lift up as you breathe in. And exhale to sink down. This time we come to stay in horse stance. So you can bring the backs of your hands to the inner knees and then lift the chest as you press the hands into the legs. So really pressing the knees away from each other, activating the glutes and inner thigh muscles, smiling through the pain. We know our legs can keep us and carry us here. And then when you're ready, straighten the legs, bring the hands onto the hips, turn your toes in so the feet are parallel to each other. Roll the shoulders back as you lift the chest. On an exhale, leading with your chest as you fold forward with a flat spine until you can bring the hands underneath your shoulders. From here, walk the hands to the back of the mat. See if you can reach your left hand to the outer edge of the back foot. You can bend the right knee very generously to lift your right fingertips towards the ceiling, possibly plant them on the small of the lower back. And from there, some of you might like to straighten your right leg again and spin the chest open towards the ceiling to come a little bit deeper into that twist. Finding your final few rounds of breath here. And then we swap the arm that's on top. So bring your right hand to the inside of your back foot. Bend your right knee very generously so that you might lift the left toes and your left fingertips up towards the ceiling into a Skandasana side lunge twist. Maybe some of you might like to bring your right sitting bone towards the right heel so that you come into the lower version of the pose. And then really let the chest expand, let your left fingertips reach back. Find a few rounds of breath here. Now we'll slowly transition this into a reverse warrior, but I'll talk you through it in stages. It's a little bit of a tricky one. So bring your top hand down first. Use the hand to give yourself momentum as you shift your body weight into the left leg. Plant the left foot down, right hand to the back thigh as the left hand reaches up and over into your reverse warrior. And inhale to reach the arm forward, cartwheel the hands to frame your front foot. Come onto the ball of the back foot and find runner's lunge. So squeeze the hips in towards one another as you press your right heel back, crown of the head moves forward. Press down into your hands to step your left foot all the way back into a high plank. Feel free to have a rest in child's pose, otherwise moving through vinyasa, either lower via the knees or one straight line. Tuck the elbows in to control your descent halfway for Chaturanga Dandasana. Roll the shoulders back as you lift the chest, either into Cobra pose or upward facing dog. And on an exhale, press back, either coming via the knees or in one straight line, back to downward facing dog, and we meet there. Finding our downward dog alignment for a few rounds of breath. Allow inner elbows to spin forward. Soften the knees, but focus on lifting through the hips. And then gently, when you're ready, bring the big toes to touch at the back. On an inhale, lift your left leg up and back, point the toes. Exhale, draw the left knee forward into the chest, shoulders on top of the wrist for tiger's curl. Bend your right knee very generously so that you can bring the left ankle just above the knee and flex your left toes. Roll onto the inner edge of the back foot. Maybe make your right fingertips light, possibly lift the right arm up towards the ceiling into your figure four side plank variation. And then see if you can step the outer edge of your left foot past the right side of the yoga mat. Maybe shimmy your back foot a little bit further back so you can really lift through the hips and chest in fallen triangle. When you're ready, bend the left knee very deeply so that you can bring the entire left foot to the floor, and then step your back foot all the way forward to the front of your yoga mat. Step the left foot back into the center. Lift your right fingertips if you let them come down so that you find your simple high lunge twist. Let your eyes drift down towards your bottom thumb. Spin your back heel to the ground as you lift your left arm up and overhead all the way back. Right fingertips reach forward for warrior two on the second side. Adjust your feet if you need to. Again, generous bend on the right knee. Reach through the tops of the arms, so soften the fingertips, lengthen the knuckles. Maybe let the eyes drift forward over the front, middle or ring finger. Gently turn your front toes in, turn the back toes out. Preparing for horse stance as you inhale, lift the arms out and overhead. One hand on top of the other as you exhale to press the air down in front of you, bend the knees. Inhale, sweep the arms up, straighten the legs, opposite hand on top if you can remember. Exhale to press down. Final time here, move with your own breath. And as we come to stay again, the backs of the hands go to the inner thighs and you're sort of lightly pressing into the thighs to lift the chest and reach your knees away from each other. So we're getting a little bit deeper into the glutes and hips here. Find the breath. Remember to give yourself just a gentle smile. Release the tension in your face. Hold it just a little bit longer if you can. And then straighten the legs as you turn the toes in, feet parallel to each other, hands go on top of the hips here. Just generous bend on the knees, hinge from the hips to come forward, lead with the chest again, until you can bring the hands underneath the shoulders, walk the fingertips to the back foot. See if you can bend your left knee generously enough to catch the outer edge of the foot with your right hand, and possibly from there, gently lifting through the chest to reach your left fingertips either towards the ceiling or planting them on your lower back. Lifting the chest, maybe left leg could straighten as well. In your wide leg forward fold, twist. Find your final few moments here. And gently release the top arm first. Plant the left hand to the inside of your back foot. And then bend the back knee really generously so that you can shift your body weight to the back, lifting the right toes, maybe lifting the right fingertips as well in your high skandasana. And for some of you, if it's a possibility, you could lift your left heel and bring it towards your left sitting bone so that you come into the lower version of that twist, keeping that expansion in the chest, reaching the arms apart. And again, we are preparing for our transition to the reverse warrior. So we press into the bottom hand, rebend the front knee, reach the left arm all the way up and overhead in a giant circle until it reaches the back thigh, and right fingertips reach all the way back as we bend a little bit more firmly into the right knee. And then cartwheeling the arms forward and down to frame the front foot in our runner's lunge, drawing the hips in towards one another, pressing your left heel back, crown of the head moves forward. Step your front foot to the back on an inhale, find high plank. Either take a rest in child's pose or downward dog, otherwise come through a vinyasa with me as we exhale to lower down halfway through Chaturanga Dandasana. We inhale into the back bend of our choice, and on the exhale, making our way back into downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. We'll meet there for a few rounds of breath. Taking our time to find that perfect internal alignment for ourselves. And when you're ready, stepping the big toes together at the back, inhale to lift the left leg up and back for three-legged dog. On the exhale, drawing the knee forward into the chest for tiger's curl, but only coming halfway to step the foot halfway up your yoga mat. Shift your body weight into that left foot and bring a little bit of weight into the hands until you can make your right foot light and float it off the ground. Spin your right pinky toe to the floor. Reach your heel and crown of the head in opposite directions for Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. Some of you might like to straighten the bottom leg, possibly. If the balance is easy, fingertips become light and you reach the hands either side of your hips. Finding the breath and the balance, embracing the wobbles in the standing leg. Either with the hands on the floor unsupported, draw your back knee into the chest as you come up to standing. Reach your hands behind you, interlace the fingers. On an inhale, roll the shoulders back as you bring the knee a little bit closer into the chest. Maybe stay here, possibly reach the hands back. Lift your eyes towards the ceiling into a one-legged standing back bend. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, press your right heel and the hands forward in front of you. Slowly land your right foot at the front of the mat, toes pointing forward. You can shimmy your left foot a little bit further back, turning the toes out, making sure that the hips are facing the front and you have enough space to feel steady and balanced here. Reach your hands behind you again. This time go for either pressing the fists against each other, maybe grabbing onto opposite wrists or elbows. Some of you might like to come all the way into Paschim Namaskar, reverse prayer hands. Again, think about leading forward with the center of your chest as you come to fold over your front leg. You might want to stop about halfway. Think about really lengthening the shoulders back and reaching crown of the head forward, pressing very actively into the front big toe and the outer edge of the back foot. Possibly folding a little bit lower. For some of you, maybe releasing the belly onto the front thigh. Slowly release the hands from behind you. Frame your front foot. Come onto the ball of the back foot so that you can inhale and reach your right leg all the way up and back into three-legged dog. Exhale, draw the right knee into the chest for tiger's curl, halfway, stepping the foot up the mat. When you're ready, transitioning our body weight into the front leg to float the back foot off the ground, finding our Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3 on the second side. Again, that perfect alignment to begin with. Focus on spinning, left pinky toe down. Press the heel and head in opposite directions. Maybe float the fingertips off the ground. And find a few moments to breathe, to reach through the hands and shoulders, lengthen them back. Possibly straighten the standing leg. Again, as we transition out of this yogi's choice, bring the hands back to the floor or unsupported. We draw the top knee in towards the chest as we come up to standing. Interlace the hands the unusual way behind us, so we move one pinky finger over. Squeeze the knee in as you inhale and roll the shoulders back to lift the chest. Maybe staying here or possibly reaching the hands back as you come into a one-legged standing back bend. Just to make life extra difficult. As you inhale, come back to center, release the hands. On an exhale, press your left heel forward, reach the palms to the front. And then bend your standing leg so that you can slowly, softly, kindly step your left leg to the front of the mat, toes pointing forward. You can shimmy the right foot a little bit further back with the toes pointing outwards. Either again going for opposite fists, pressing against each other, maybe grabbing hold of your wrists behind you or the elbows. Maybe reverse prayer hands. If you're holding onto the forearms or wrists, make sure that the opposite arm is on top. So for most of us, that'll be the one that feels uncomfortable. On an inhale, lengthen the chest, lift up through the front body. As you exhale, reach the center of the chest forward. The spine stays long. You activate into the legs, so really pressing down through your front big toe and the outer edge of the back foot. Maybe for some of you, folding all the way over the front leg, but still reaching actively back through the shoulders. Find a few moments to breathe here in pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. When you're ready, generous bend on the front leg, release the hands either side of your front foot. Tuck under the back toes and shimmy the right foot back if you need to. On an inhale, step the front foot all the way back into downward facing dog. Release the knees as you exhale, find child's pose. Big toes touch, knees are wide. Sitting bones draw back towards the heels. Crown of the head might be able to rest on the floor if it's comfortable. Slowly on an inhale, walk the hands in towards yourself, round through the spine to come into a kneeling position just very briefly so that we can slip the feet out to one side and prepare for our seated postures here at the end. Some of you might like to just roll up your yoga mat and give your hips a little bit of lift here so that it's a little bit easier to fold forward for you, especially if in a seated position your spine has a tendency to round back. Then I would advise you to definitely do it. So we'll start with Janu Shirshasana, and as I often like to do, we'll have the left leg forward and we'll have the right knee bent out to the side here. I always like to start with the left leg because for most of us it's sort of our stiffer side. We'll have the left hand to the outside of the knee. As you inhale, reach your right fingertips up and overhead, expand the chest to the right side. On the exhale, reach that top arm forward and across. So we're sort of preparing for that slight twisting action of Janu Shirshasana. Inhale, reach the arm back and overhead. Exhale, coming forward and across. One final time here, move with your breath. And then slowly really reach across. Maybe let your hands land either side of the thigh, knee, possibly the calf. Some of you might like to catch the front of the foot and fold all the way forward. If you're a little bit higher, it's a great idea to think about really lengthening the space between your collarbones towards your big toe so that you are really lengthening the spine and working from the abdominal muscles to lift yourself a little bit further forward, wherever you are, whichever variation you've chosen. Find your final few moments of breath here. Possibly soften down as you exhale. And inhale to walk the hands back in towards yourself, come upright. Use your left hand behind the left knee to bring the foot to the floor. And separate the knees, bring the soles of the feet together. Give yourself about 2 hand lengths distance from the heels to your torso. And bring the hands on top of the shins here when you're ready as you inhale. Use the hands to pull the chest forward, lengthen the spine, roll onto the very fronts of your sitting bones. And start to slowly bring the chest forward towards your feet. Again, you could possibly plant the hands in front of your shin bones. Maybe you can hook the elbows across and that helps to actually pull the spine forward. Some of you, if you're fairly close to the floor and your spine is still straight, you can bring the hands on top of the feet and let the crown of the head, or rather the forehead, rest on top of your hands. And again, any of those variations, wherever you are, let the breath settle. Let the body soften as you exhale. And let the head hang so that you sort of relax the back of the neck. Possibly separate your top and lower jaw. Let the tongue soften away from the roof of your mouth. So really relax the facial muscles if you can. It can be quite a tricky thing to do. On an inhale, slowly walk the hands back in, come into an upright position, and we'll simply do Janu Shirshasana on the second side. So this time the right leg goes forward, the left foot is to the inner thigh with the knee bent. Right hand to the outside of the leg, And we reach the left arm all the way up and overhead to expand the chest. On an exhale, reaching the hand forward and across. We're sort of lengthening left side of the waist, preparing for that slight twisting action of the pose. Inhale to expand and exhale to come forward and across. Do that just one last time here. Move with your breath. And you can, again, land your top hand wherever it may. Think about spinning your belly button towards your front knee. And possibly from there, if you're fairly upright, it can also help to actually work with your breathing in quite a sort of physical way. So maybe as you inhale, you really back out of the pose, straighten the arms. And as you exhale, think about, again, that space between the collarbones moving towards your front big toe. So keep the spine as long as you can and continue to work with the breath in that way. These kinds of pulsating movements, I'm probably repeating myself, but these pulsating movements actually help us to sort of gradually move into a pose, especially these forward folds, a lot more than if we're sort of, bouncing up and down, trying to force it. Actually being a little bit more gentle, usually we get better results. And we'll make this our final breath here. When you're ready, on an inhale, walk the hands in towards yourself, come upright and plant both feet at the front of your yoga mat, bend the knees, slowly roll onto your back body. Now, a few options here. We'll just have a brief moment to sort of let the breath and body settle. So I'll give you some options for the legs here. You could bring the feet as wide as the yoga mat, palms facing the ceiling, and let your knees drop in towards one another, which really opens up the space at the very, very lowest part of the spine, the sacrum. So giving your lower back a little bit of a relief here. If you want to, again, work a little bit deeper into the hips, you can bring the soles of your feet together again and open the knees into butterfly pose. And any of those options that you've chosen, bring the hands to rest on top of your belly, one hand above the other. Close the eyes if that's comfortable. Otherwise, soften your gaze towards a point above you. And then let the breath just gently linger towards the end of each inhale, towards the end of each exhale. Think about the body just gently melting into the mat beneath you, with each breath getting a little bit heavier. One muscle after the other, giving up the tension that it requires to hold you upright or standing. Now, if your knees are out to the side in butterfly pose, then gently lift the knees, plant the feet as wide as your yoga mat. From here, just let the knees windscreen wiper left and right a few times, releasing any tension in the hip joint. And then when you're ready, bring the knees back to point towards the ceiling. Draw the knees in towards yourself for a moment. Squeeze the knees towards the floor to straighten the spine against the mat. And then have a little rock side to side. Massage the back of the body. Reach your right arm all the way up and overhead. Roll on to the right side. Keep the eyes closed if they are. Use your left hand to support yourself here. Take another few rounds of breath. Press into your top hand to bring yourself into a seated position. Any comfortable seat. Bring the palms to touch in front of your chest. Bow the forehead towards the fingertips. In this final moment of practice, just briefly give yourself a little bit of gratitude. Just a short thank you for showing up on your yoga mat to practice in the first place. Maybe today you've had a lot of obstacles in your way and it's been really difficult to get here. Maybe it's been the easiest thing of your day. Either way, make sure that you acknowledge what you've just accomplished and then possibly plant your sankalpa, your good intention at the end of practice that guides you back into your real life. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. So thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. As always, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. You can, of course, find me anywhere else online with the links that I will leave you in the video description, and hopefully I will see you back on your yoga mat very, very soon. If you have any questions about this practice or anything else, drop them in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. Thank you again. Bye, yogi.